Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk News. I'm Luke Owen and this is Wrestling News. We start today's episode by reminding everyone of the fleeting passage of time to make you all feel old and decaying, because do you remember the Bayley girl? You know, the superfan at ringside in the glory days of NXT who dressed like Bayley and, Sasha Banks once made her cry during a title match? Well, she made her in-ring wrestling debut this past weekend. And it turns out I've already got one foot in the grave. Yes, the 16-year-old wrestled for Mission Pro in a losing effort at Jasmine Allure, wearing Bayley-inspired gear and at times doing Bayley-inspired moves. Despite not winning her first match, we here at WrestleTalk would like to send out our congrats and support to Izzy and wish her continued success, even though, let's not forget that she once big-leagued me in the build to Survivor Series 2020 by refusing to join my team against the All Authority and said that she didn't know who I was, and as you can tell, I'm not bitter about that at all. You see, what I just did there was a little bit of what a wrestler would call a work. Not actually bitter about Izzy not knowing who I am, because, well, of course she knows who I am. I'm Wrestling YouTube's Luke Owen. I'm on Instagram now. Which is why when CM Punk said what he said after Collision went off the air in the Greensboro Coliseum on Saturday night, I, like a lot of people, assumed it was all a big work. But it turns out I might be wrong, because there's been some drama backstage in AEW involving CM Punk and Hangman Page. Oh, sorry, it looks like I've actually loaded an old WrestleTalk news script from last year, but it turns out this is actually a new story. Because if you've not been on the Twitter sphere over the weekend, and I would not blame you, CM Punk cut a promo after Collision went off the air, taking a pot shot at Hangman Adam Page, calling his toys peg warmers, a term used in the retail industry to describe toys that never sell. This Cassandra figure from Doctor Who Series 2, for example, was a peg warmer during my days in the toy retail world. Punk noted that Page's toys don't sell, but his do. He also sells merchandise and pops ratings, unlike Adam Page. He also noted that the company has people claiming that they're the heart and soul of AEW, but in fact, he is the heart and soul. It's a reference to Page's promo when the Elite reformed on Dynamite a few months ago. With Page, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks all recently re-signing with AEW and FTR facing the Bucks for the tag titles at All In, it was sort of figured that some of the bad tensions between all parties had been smoothed over to some degree, and this promo by Punk was just him stoking a worked shoot fire to get people talking, but apparently it wasn't. Because according to Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer Daily Update, this was not a storyline or anything like that. Not only that, but Page was scheduled to be in the building for Collision to record a pre-tape promo for Dynamite, and when he got there, was told that he would have to do it away from the Greensboro Coliseum and not to go to the show. Page himself has confirmed that he was in Greensboro, posting this picture to Instagram stories where he claims that karma is his kink. Big deal. Mine are women in suits, but you don't see me posting about that on Instagram stories or saying it in a WrestleTalk news video. Wait. Meltzer adds that Punk ran down Page for no apparent reason, and he was booed heavily. For those who might not remember, although I can't imagine there are those who don't remember, all of Punk's issues with the Elite stemmed from Page's additional line he had in a promo segment on Dynamite to build to their Double or Nothing world title match. There was also a time when Punk called out Page for a talk during a promo segment on a night that Hangman was not in the building in an effort to make him look bad. But Page was not involved in Brawl Out and therefore is not part of the agreement that Omega, the Bucks, and Punk have made where they can't say disparaging things about each other publicly, which means he can cut promos like this after Collision on Hangman, and it's not in breach of that agreement. We also saw this in Punk's interview he did with ESPN ahead of his return on Collision. But maybe there is a worked shoot element to all of this, as according to Voices of Wrestling, the promo was not planned, but is a work. The idea was to get jump the rail heat from Elite fans who will be worked up by Punk's comments, as the long-term AEW plan for CM Punk is to turn fully heel, something he reportedly pushed hard for when he returned to AEW. They also add that the Bucks are still refusing to work with Punk, the latest attempt at that being made last week, but Kenny Omega is open to the idea. There's reportedly been no backstage fallout to Punk's promo on Page, according to Voices of Wrestling, and it's unknown what Hangman made of that promo or the idea of working with Punk again. However, Sean Ross Sapp over at Fightful Select has backed up some of what Meltzer is reporting, writing, "We were flat out told the promo after Collision was not a work or a planned thing that Paige was involved in." But even then, they can't confirm that Paige's promo had to be recorded elsewhere. What they can report, however, is that someone else was sent home from Collision after heated words with Punk backstage. According to Fightful Select, Ryan Nemeth was brought in for the Collision tapings, but was confronted by Punk, who had taken issue with Nemeth's tweets about Punk's return to TV, where he called him literally the softest man alive, a reference to Punk calling the Elite soft in that return promo. Nemeth was then told that he wasn't needed for the show by an AEW coach, and a flight was booked to send him home. Fightful Select write, "We haven't heard how things went outside of Nemeth explaining himself, and that it didn't end in anything physical." Speaking about this report on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer says that Nemeth's discussion with Punk did take place, but not at this weekend's Collision, but did corroborate that Nemeth was booked for the show and then sent home. Brian Alvarez then chimed in to add that this is actually the second time that Nemeth has been booked for Collision and then was sent home. And apparently, he's not the only one. Meltzer says there's stuff that's been happening since day one of Collision, and most of it has been kept quiet. A lot of people really wanted to keep this quiet, but it's not quiet now. And that stuff being kept quiet turns out that Nemeth is not the only person to have been sent home from Collision, as Matt Hardy and Christopher Daniels have also reportedly been booked for Collision and then told not to go to the building. Meltzer adds, "There may be others, but those are the ones I've heard of." The wild thing about Christopher Daniels being sent home is that not only is he a wrestler, he's the head of talent relations. Meltzer concludes saying, "There's a lot of other stuff too, and it's a case of wait and see what happens next." Meltzer also reiterates this is not an angle and it's not designed to lead to a match, adding that every time Punk does things like his promo on Paige, it actually pushes back the chances of us fans getting Punk versus the Elite. He also adds, and this is important, he also adds that it cannot be confirmed that it is CM Punk that is making the call to send people home who were previously booked for Collision, and he says that's probably what Tony Khan would say is the case, it's not CM Punk. But the locker room believes that it is CM Punk making this call. There's a lot of murky waters here, and it's at a point where it's hard to tell what is a work and what is a shoot. So what do you think? Why don't you let me know in the comments down below? Punk also took a shot at Will Ospreay via Instagram, which I can now see and say because I'm part of Instagram too. Go and follow me and all of that. After Ospreay renamed the IWGP United States Championship to the UK Championship. Punk posted about this on the gram, saying, "Bruv, very disrespectful to just change the belt like this. You cannot just do things like this. This isn't a real belt now. I hope Antonio Inoki fires you." With Punk opening this up with, "Bruv," one would assume that this is a work. With All In just around the corner and New Japan this morning announcing Royal Quest 3 here in London at the Copper Box, perhaps it's all leading somewhere. Honestly, I don't know at this point. But it's not just Punk that's been firing back at his critics, as WWE's Asuka went on a Twitter tirade and blocking spree against her own critics. She called out the scumbags that she was blocking and retweeted someone to tell them to stop being a fan of hers after they called out some of her flaws. Just what flaws someone could think that Asuka has is beyond me, but Twitter is a weird place. She then went on to call out some of the media, noting that she didn't flatter the press in Japan, and that's why some of the media there still hates her. She even claims that Stardom was created to defeat her and destroy her personally. She did later clarify what I just said is in the past. It was before I came to America. Now the organization has changed, and there are a few players I know, so I don't know anything about it, and good luck to everyone who's trying their best. She also showed concern for two of the company stars, Mina Shirakawa and Syres, a longtime on-screen rival of Asuka's. In a separate tweet, she wrote, "The media could not bring me down when I came to America. They must have really wanted me to fail. I'm used to it because I've been fighting my critics alone since my days in Japan. But now I am here. I have comrades in arms. Charlotte, Becky, Triple H, and Luke Owen? I've walked alone in the wilderness all my life, and here I have an oasis. To the Asuka antis, I say, Beat me up on the internet all you want. I grab everything. Looking at the male side of the SmackDown side of things, and a report has emerged from Fightful Select that gives an indication to the actual popularity of LA Knight. Yeah, because crowd reactions are one thing, but numbers are an entirely different and much more tangible thing. Interestingly, LA Knight does not make it as high up in the merch sold at live events list as you might think. Cody Rhodes tops out most live shows, with Roman Reigns, the Usos, Rhea Ripley, and Seth Rollins rounding out a top 5 of wrestlers. Generic WWE merchandise, tour shirts, toy belts, that sort of thing, is always top of the overall list. Fightful Select add that the Usos split from the Bloodline, who used to be grouped together, has made them sell more merchandise at live shows than anyone else other than Cody Rhodes. So I know what you're asking, well, where's LA Knight? Yeah, well, Fightful add that all of Knight's sales come from online or third-party sellers. On those lists, Knight is among the best sellers along with Rhodes and Reigns, and that would be because LA Knight shirts aren't all that available at the live shows. In fact, SRS writes that there was a point of contention internally recently regarding the lack of merchandise for LA Knight at certain live shows of late, which really screams of WWE's usual "we don't want you to look as over as you actually are" mentality. Now, with all of the Punk stuff taking up so much of the earlier part of the news, there's actually no time for the AEW Collision 1 minute one take. So you'll have to go over to the WrestleTalk podcast to check out mine and Dan Layton's review in full. If you're unaware of what the WrestleTalk podcast is, here's a clip to sink your teeth into and is LA Knight related, while I and Big Kendo Nagasaki read the last row here.
But I think you can understand the man is over like over.
There are people trying to squeeze a look indoors because we are
like,
so
what is going
loud
on in there?
outside. They want to